have such sights to show you.
Shall we begin?
Welcome, my Dominion. Today we're going to talk about Pinhead. This is going to get dark, but we have to talk about what's exactly happening psychologically with the Cenobites and why Pinhead is so fundamentally different from every other horror villain we've analyzed. Because Pinhead isn't evil, and that's what makes him terrifying. Let me explain. Pinhead and the Cenobites exist in a realm where pain and pleasure are the same thing. They've transcended human understanding of sensation to the point where they can't tell the difference anymore, and they genuinely believe they're offering people a gift. That's not villainy. That's something way more disturbing. Let's start with how someone becomes the Cenobite, because the psychology of that transformation is key to understanding Pinhead. The Lament configuration, that puzzle box, doesn't just randomly summon demons. It's specifically designed to be solved by people seeking something. People who are seeking ultimate pleasure, ultimate experience, something beyond normal human sensation. So right off the bat, we're dealing with self-selection process. The people who open that box are already psychologically primed for what's coming. They're sensation seekers, thrill chasers, people who've exhausted normal experiences and need more. In psychology, we just call this sensation seeking. It's actually a measurable personality trait. People high in sensation seeking constantly need novel, intense experiences. They get bored really easily. Normal pleasures don't satisfy them anymore, and that's exactly who the box targets. Now, when Pinhead was human, when he was Captain Elliot Spencer, he was a soldier in World War I. He saw horrors that broke him. Trauma, violence, death on a massive scale. And somewhere in that breaking, he started seeking. Seeking meaning, seeking sensation. Something that could make him feel anything than the numbness that trauma creates. That's when he found the box. Here's what I think happened psychologically. The Cenobite didn't corrupt him. They offered him exactly what he was looking for, an escape from human limitation, from the pain of being human. And he took it willingly. That's the first major thing to understand about Pinhead. He's not a victim. He chose this, and in his mind, he chooses this every day. Now let's talk about transformation itself. They describe themselves as explorers of further regions of experience. They're not trying to hurt people. They're trying to tell people what exists beyond normal consciousness. Pain and pleasure in our normal human brains, these are processed by different neural pathways. Pain signals danger. Pleasure signals reward. They're supposed to be opposites, but there's actually interesting neuroscience here. In extreme situations, the brain can start to confuse these signals. People who engage in extreme BDSM, extreme sports, even some people with certain neurological conditions start to report that pain and pleasure can be blurred together. The Cenobites have taken this to its absolute extreme. They've rewired the entire nervous system so that all sensation is the same. All experiences are ecstasy. The pins in the Pinhead skull, the mutilations all over his body, to him, those aren't torture. Those are ornaments, decorations. Each one represents a different type of sensation he's experienced and incorporated into his being. He's not suffering, he's adorned. And that's what makes him so alienated to some people. Some people look at him and see agony, but he looks at himself and sees enlightenment. Let's talk about his relationship with his victims, because this is where the psychology gets very complex. Pinhead doesn't hunt people. He doesn't seek them out randomly. He only comes out when summoned, when someone opens that box. And when he arrives, he's almost polite, formal. He speaks in this very measured, eloquent way. He explains what's about to happen. He's not sadistic. He's not cruel. He genuinely believes that he's fulfilling a contract. You opened the box. You sought experience beyond human limitation. And he's here trying to give you exactly that. The fact that what he considers as a gift to a normal human nervous system is just a difference in perception. This is where we get into some really disturbing psychological territory, because Pinhead operates from a completely different moral framework than we do. He's not breaking his own rules. He's not being hypocritical. From his perspective, he's actually being generous. He's sharing something precious. The problem is that his framework of reference is so alien to human consciousness that generosity looks like horror. Think about the way he talks to his victims. We have such sights to show you. Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell. He's not threatening them. He's promising them something he genuinely believes is valuable. It's like if you offered someone a 5-course meal, a fancy one, and they screamed in pain and torture. From your perspective, you're being kind. From their perspective, if they have a condition where eating causes them agony, you're torturing them. That's the disconnect between Pinhead and humanity. Now, there are moments in the movies that we see cracks in this, moments where Pinhead remembers his humanity. When Christie shows him photographs of what he used to be, there's this flicker of recognition, of horror of what he's become. And that's psychologically fascinating, because that suggests Elliot Spencer isn't completely gone. He's buried, suppressed, but still in there somewhere. This fits with what we know about disassociation and trauma. When trauma is severe enough, the mind can split, create separate identities that don't have access to each other's memories or feelings. Pinhead could be a dissociative identity that formed to protect Elliot Spencer from the horror of what he experienced in the war. And if that's the case, then every act of torture Pinhead commits is being done by someone who's fundamentally fleeing from his own pain by inflicting it onto others. Except he doesn't see it as inflicting pain. He experienced it as sharing. Let's talk about the other Cenobites for a second, because they add context to understanding Pinhead. Each Cenobite represents a different aspect of sensation, taken to its extreme. The female Cenobite with her throat cut open, that's about voice, about expression. The Chatterer with his exposed teeth, that's about hunger, about consumption. They're all fragments of human desire and sensation. Very symbolic, isolated and amplified until they become monstrous. Pinhead, as the leader, represents intellect, the ordering principle. He's the only one that maintains structure, who explains the rules, who speaks. And that makes sense psychologically. If you're going to transcend humanity and exist in a realm of pure sensation, you need an anchor, something to prevent you from dissolving into pure chaos. Pinhead's formality, his eloquence, his rigid adherence to rules, that's not personality, that's survival mechanism. It's the only thing that keeps him from losing himself. Here's what makes Pinhead so psychologically complex. In some of the later films, we see what happens when Pinhead is separated from his human side, when Elliot Spencer is literally ripped out of him, and what's left is pure Cenobite. No humanity, no restraint, no rules, and he becomes evil, cruel for the sake of cruelty, destructive without purpose. That tells us something crucial. The humanity that Pinhead thinks he's transcended, that's actually the only thing that was making him principled, the only thing that gave his actions any kind of coherent framework. Without it, he's just chaos and malice. So Pinhead, with his humanity, is this strange, tragic figure. A person so damaged by trauma that he sought to stop being human entirely and succeeded. But in succeeding, he became something that can only offer horror while believing it's offering enlightenment. And he's not lying when he says him and the other Cenobites are angels to some. To people whose nervous systems are wired like theirs, whose psychology can process sensation like that, what they offer probably is transcendent. But for everyone else, it's just pure torture. And Pinhead can't understand why people resist, can't understand why they scream and beg. To him, they're not just enlightened yet. They will be. once the transformation is complete. That's the psychology of a cult leader right there. The absolute certainty that you have access to truth that others don't. That their suffering in pursuit of that truth is justified because of how amazing the end results will be. Except Pinhead's cult is just him and his followers, torturing anyone who accidentally or not accidentally enters it. So what does Pinhead represent psychologically? I think he represents the danger of seeking escape from pain through extreme means. The idea if that normal pleasure doesn't work, if normal coping doesn't work, maybe something extreme will. Drugs, self-harm, dangerous relationships, extreme experiences. People chase these things when they're trying to feel something, anything that will override the numbness or the pain they're carrying. And sometimes that chase leads them somewhere where they can't come back from. Pinhead is what happens when you go so far in that pursuit of sensation that you lose the ability to recognize what's harmful. When your calibration is so broken that you see agony as ecstasy, here's a warning about where places trauma can take you. If you run from it instead of processing it. And the scariest part, he's not sorry. He doesn't want to be saved. From his perspective, he's exactly where he wants to be. That's the ultimate tragedy of Pinhead. Not that he's suffering, but he's not. He's content, fulfilled even. And that means there's no reaching him, no saving him, no way to make him understand what he's doing is wrong. Because in reality, he's not. Thank you for being here today. And if horror feels like home, join the Dominion.
The circle never ends.